Today is, oh my gosh, one of my most important days of my life. There's quite a few things in my life that I'm remembering and love and love to celebrate. You know, birth of my children, my marriage to my husband. But today is a very special day because today is an anniversary that is what saved my soul and my heart and my mind and took me out of a place that I'll never forget where I was and where I am today, and how grateful that I get to experience God's love constantly. But I do take time to have that love with Him. Today, I was baptized 3 years ago today, and I today am a different person than I was then. And all I can explain it to you is this: it's like, you don't become a follower of Jesus and then all of a sudden life goes perfect and you're all wonderful. Trust me, there's been some really hard times since I decided to follow Jesus, and those hard times crushed me. I mean, these are things that were just breaking to my heart. But there's a difference of how I handle it now, and those differences is with God. I take time to just be with Him and understand where I'm at. I was taught a different way growing up, and as some of you know, I am writing those parts of my life in my book. But I was taught a different way of handling stress and when you're sad or angry or whatever. But today I do it different. I get these pains that come to me, and I take time in this room right here where I talk to God. I spend time with Him, and I do believe giving things to God does make a difference. I explain it the best way to some of my groups. It's kind of like, for some of us that are old enough to remember, is having that car. We used to have a car where you actually took it and you physically had to roll down the window to get fresh air when it was hot and you were just needing some air. So you manually rolled down the window, and then automatic windows were created. And what a different thing that you had. You pushed the button and poof, there you got it. You got that fresh air. The air came in. And the crazy part is once you owned a car that had those new windows, you never went back. Or if you had a car that didn't have air condition and then you finally got a car with air condition, those are things that once you receive that blessing, you never wanted to go back. You never wanted to go back to having to crank the window down, having to suffer through heat. And so I see it as the same thing. I can't go back to where I used to be because with God's help, I have automatic windows. That doesn't mean that it doesn't get hot, and that doesn't mean that things don't come my way. But with God's help, I have an ease that you could push a button instead of having to do it my own, manually doing it. And manually doing it doesn't get us anywhere but more frustrated and exhausted. And then that's when we reach for other ways to hide our pain and our sufferings and our stuff, because we don't know what to do when we can't manually fight this anymore. So yes, there's sadness that comes in your life even when you start to follow Jesus. But at the same time, I'd rather push a button to get fresh air than to manually force something that will never come without it. So I'm going to read you a verse that just grabbed my attention not too long ago. It's Lamentations 3:19 through 30. And this is through the Bible, the Message. I never forget the trouble, the other lostness, the taste of ashes, the poison I've swallowed. I remember it all. Oh, how well I remember the feeling of hitting the bottom. But there's one other thing I remember, and in remembering, I keep grip on hope. God's loyal love couldn't have ran out. His merciful love couldn't have dried up. They're created new every morning. How great your faithfulness. I'm sticking with God. I say it over and over. He's all I got left. God proves to be good to the man who passionately waits, to the woman who diligently seeks. It's a good thing to quietly hope for help from God. It's a good thing when you're young to stick it out through the hard times. When life is heavy and hard to take, go off by yourself. Enter the silence. Bow in prayer. Don't ask questions. Wait for hope to appear. Don't run from trouble. Take it full face. The worst is never the worst. I love that verse because it just reminds you of, doesn't mean we're not going to have trouble, but think of the worst things that's happened in your life and you got through it. I guarantee if you probably looked back, you would see a glimpse of God by you. It's just sometimes we don't see him until we get to a place in our lives where we desperately need to see him. I'm not any different. I'm the same car, just with different windows. I love the same. I have the same goofy personality. I treat people exactly the same way I did before. I have not changed. I just changed how I handle situations and how I truly feel that without God, I don't know where I would be today. So I thank you for listening to this message, and I pray that someday that you too can have this sense of freedom, and one day you can roll down your windows with some powered windows instead of having to do it on your own. I haven't sent out a message in a long time, so I pray for all of you, and there's some people in my life that I still pray for daily. I miss so many of you, and I love you guys, and hope someday that life will be easier. Thank you. Have a great day.